We are starting with solving regular puzzles. I've kept the strength from 0 to 1500, so we're going to solve as many puzzles as possible. Let's see how many we can get right. Let's say we have to get all right, but yes. So yeah, this is the first puzzle of all. The black king is poorly placed. There should be a way we can checkmate him, and yes, Kimappa bishop f8 is the answer because that leads to a checkmate after queen g7 and bishop into g7, and the black king is checkmated. So yes, that is the answer. We got this one right. Let's go to the next. Queen g5 has been played. Now queen g5 is a mistake because this queen can be captured by a bishop that sits on c1. So we just can capture the queen and we are material up. Let's say a queen up. So bishop into g5. We got this one right too. Let's go to the next. Now rook h2 has been played. Now what can we do in this position? Why is rook h2 a mistake over here? First of all, it does lead to a pin. You got to keep that in mind. The knight on e5 is definitely pinned in this position. It does seem like f6 is the answer in this position. So yes, we can play f6 and let's figure that out because the knight is pinned. So if he does move the knight, we do win the rook, and if he does not move the knight away, we can win the piece. So f6 and we can capture the free rook. Let's go to the next. Okay, so h5 has been played and black's king does seem weak at the moment. We have a beautiful queen here. We have two rooks double on the f file. What are we supposed to do over here? Now this one is also pretty simple. It's going to be a mate in a couple of moves. So yes, we have rook into f7 check first, a forced move, rook into f7. Then we can have the other rook come to f7. Because king h6 and there's rook h7, that is a checkmate because g5 is controlled by the queen on e7. And after rook f7, rook f7, rook f7, for king h8, we have rook h7 check, king g8 and queen g7 as a checkmate because the king on g8 has no more squares after that. So yes, it is rook into g7 if y'all did think about, rook into f7 if y'all did think of rook into f7 as the answer. Rook into f7 is important though over here. And here, now what do we do? Now we can't really give black a move. He is a piece up and he has threats like queen d1, so we have to give checks continuously and get a mate. So let's say rook g7, king h8, rook h7, king g8 and queen g7. So check, and on the next move we have a checkmate. Yes, Fanarts 94, rook into f7 was the answer. Now bishop into g8 has been played. Now this is a rare thing. You don't really get such a position in games that you have two bishops against one bishop, but yes, you should usually be a draw, two bishops against one bishop. But this position, the point is this bishop does not have squares, so it is poorly placed. So if we can win this g8 bishop of blacks, then we do win the game. So in this position we have king g7, and after king g7, bishop f7 is the only move to get his bishop protected or supported by his king. And after bishop f7, now we have to get rid of black's king from the e6 square. How do we do it? Well, we have bishop g4 check, and we have a bishop anyway controlling this diagonal. The dark squares are controlled, so then he would have to move the king away and we can just capture king into bishop, and we have two bishops and the two bishops mate. I hope all of y'all do know how to checkmate the two bishops. So it should be king g7 and bishop g4 and simply capture the bishop. Does everyone over here know how to checkmate with the bishop pair, or is there anyone who does not know? So okay, let's go to the next. h6 has been played. Okay, now what do we do in this position? Okay, this is again, we know that we are actually a rook down in this position, but we have a discovered check. Now the important thing is, where do we move our bishop for the discovered check, to give the discovered check? Now for example, if we do directly play bishop f5 to take control of h7, what can black do? Black can play the move queen g8, after which there are no more checks. And how are you going to improve from there? Because he is a rook up, you have to keep that in mind. So that is not the correct move. You have to make, let's say, an intermediate move in between and then bishop f5 next. So bishop e6 first, and you force king h7, after which you play bishop f5, because now this is controlled. The last 8th rank is controlled by the queen, so the black king can't move. And then queen g6 is forced, after which again you don't need to capture bishop into g6. No, you're not going to capture bishop into g6. Actually you could, but it's not really required. You could first play queen c7 check, and since the queen is anyway pinned, so now the king would have to move, then you could capture the queen for free. So yes, bishop e6 it got to be first. I hope, yeah, bishop e6, and now bishop f5. And for queen g6, as I mentioned, you do not capture the queen directly, though you could, that's also fine, but it is winning. But it's better to first play queen c7 or queen b7 first and ask the king to move and then capture it. So then you have a queen for a rook rather than having a rook and knight for a queen. Yeah, you have extra material for the rook. Let's go to the next. Okay, so h6 has been played. He's 2 pawns up, but h6 is a mistake because now this rook on g6 is attacked. No, let's not say attacked. It's protected by just the king, and of course attacked by a king too. So we can directly win it by playing the move rook g1, and wherever he moves, you just capture rook into g6, and you do win the piece. You are having an extra rook on the board. You don't need to worry about h7 because you have rook h6. And yes, after h7, king g7 here would be a blunder. Why? Because he has h8 queen, and after king in2, he has king g6, and then he has an extra pawn on the board, after which he's going to be winning. So for h7, important is to play rook h6 and win the game after that. Okay, so getting to this problem, now king c1 has been played. Now the first check I see on the board is queen h6. After queen h6, what does happen? King b1 is forced. And after king b1, I have knight d2 check. King c1 has to come back. Then I can play knight into f1. I do win the knight. The rook. I do win the rook. Again king b1. Again knight d2 check. Again he comes back. So this way we can win more material. For example, I think we can also go knight b3 and knight into a1. I think once we are... Actually, that's not required, is it? Yeah, actually, yeah, that is it. You can just win more material and you are winning the game after that. So yes, queen h6. Okay, he's giving up the queen immediately. So yes, this is the answer to this. Okay, we are a bishop down over here. Now, how do we continue? First of all, let's see the first moves that are possible here. We have knight g6 check, for which he has king g8. For which, what can we do after that? Well, okay, I'll wait for y'all to give me answers for this one because I've gone for the previous 8 answers on my own. So y'all can actually give me an answer here and we can discuss it, and I will play the move on the board. I will play a move that you have suggested because I do think that is the answer. Let's go forward. There's no way you're going to win any pieces over here. So yes, knight g6. Knight e7, and you just go for a perpetual check in this position. Yeah, draw is a happy result. That's right, Rao Krishna. So yes, let's go next. And what about here? Again, the white king does seem to be poorly placed on f4, so you have to try to take advantage of it, and it is actually possible immediately to take advantage of it. Question is, how do you do it? I'll be just going forward with this answer. This knight is controlling the important e3, g3 square, so the king cannot run away. Now after we do play rook h4 check, e4 and g4 are also controlled, so he has just king e5 and king g5 as options. Now after that, let's just say rook h4 check, king g5, we can play the move h6 and it's going to be a checkmate on g5 because this rook is protected by the knight on f5. And rook h4, king e5, we have rook b5 check, again controlling the d5 square. The knight is already controlling the d4 square, and that is again a checkmate. So rook h4 and rook b5. Let's go to the next. Knight f3 has been played. What do we do about it? Our queen is on a8 over here. We can definitely take advantage of the fact that we have our queen in a8 and on that weak diagonal, because the light squares are really weak. Light squares are really weak of white. So what can we do in this position? First of all, take advantage of the pen, so we can play the move knight e5, immediately pinning the f3 knight, and yeah, we're just going to win the knight after that. If he does capture knight into e5, we have queen into h1. We can trade queens and capture the knight back on e5, and we are material up. Basically, I think we will be 2 pieces up after that. Yeah, we will be. So yeah, so knight e5 it is, and queen into h1. We trade queens, and oh, one piece up, sorry, I said two pieces up. We are one piece up. I forgot that we are giving away the knight on e5. Yeah. Now this has been played, b5, c into b5 has been played. What do we do? First of all, this pawn we could capture and try to queen it. That is one option. Now the question is, in this position, there are just two candidate moves when you look at the position. One is a into b3 and one is rook c1. Now out of these two moves, the first move we are supposed to calculate is a into b3 and see if it is working. Okay, Super Mario 20. So your answer is, we play a into b3, sorry, rook d1, b2, rook b1 and rook c1. Okay, but for a into b3, what if he plays rook d2? Then what are you going to do? Well, you can try to go for the same idea, but rook d2, how are you going to continue? That's important. Yeah, rook c2, and after rook d1 again you have b2 and you have rook c1 coming next. So yes, that should be the answer. I too feel the same. So let's just play into b3, and yeah, here rook c2 is important. So rook c2, now we have b2, and after which rook c1 is unstoppable, and we are winning this. Okay, let's go to the next. Okay, so we have got 12 correct. Now in this position we are, how many pieces down? We are 2 bishops down, but how do we continue this? First of all, okay, looking at the position, we can play rook into f7, and after king into f7 we have queen into f5, and that is it. After that we can go for the d3 rook. So yes, rook into c2 is the answer to this, queen into f5, and let's go to the next. King f8 has been played. This is just a basic 2-move mate. So this king on f8 is already blocked by this rook, so these squares are taken, the e8 and e7 squares. So we could just give him a check somewhere here on the 8th rank, we could get a checkmate. So yes, it is queen d8, bishop d8, and then rook d8. So queen sacrifice and then a rook d8, and that is a checkmate. So queen d8, rook into d8. Let's go to the next. Bishop into a3 has been played. We have beautiful pawns on the e2 and e3 squares, but we have to keep in mind that we are a queen and knight down in this position. It's a lot of material, but how do we continue? We do have a d2 directly, a d2 check, and the king is forced to go to f2, and we have e1 equals queen check. Right, e1 equals queen is definitely the better queening move there. And rook into e1, we again queen, and we have rook d2, and yeah, a mate will eventually follow after that. So it should be d2 and e1 queen. Next, a4 has been played. Now what do we do in this position? The a4 has been played. Now this is a situation where both the kings have castled opposite sides, so black is attacking this side and white is attacking on this side. But in this situation, what can we do immediately? First thing, the bishop is trapped over here. White does not really need to bother. You have to look at the black king side and see what can be done in this position. Can we just capture h into g6 and maybe queen at 6 and try to checkmate him? Well, that is the first question we got to ask ourselves. So can we just play h into g6 over here? For h into g6, we have queen at 6 and queen at checkmate, which is unstoppable. And for f into g6, we again do have queen at 6. So does this really work, and is this winning? That is what we have to ask ourselves. And it does seem like that is the only option we have in this position. We don't really have any other options, do we? No, we don't. So yeah, we have to go with h into g6 over here. That is the answer. Let's go to the next. Rook into g6 has been played, but we have a pass pawn, and c3 square is controlled by the knight. So we can just push c2 in this position. Important thing is that for c2, black can play rook b1. And do we want to capture c into b1? No, because if we do capture his rook, then he captures with the king, and we have just one knight left on the board, and it's no way to checkmate your opponent's king with just one knight. So for c2, he will definitely play the move rook b1, for which we have to have a waiting move and improve our position. So we can play king d2 in this position, and if the rook moves behind, we can again queen a pawn, and if the rook comes to c1, of course we capture. So after c2 rook b1 king d2, he has king a2. He's going to again wait because he's waiting for us to capture the rook. But again, we're not going to do that. We just play knight c3 check. We have a fork on the rook and the king, and then we can capture pawn into rook queen, because a knight on c3 protects the b1 square, protects or attacks the b1 square. Yeah, so that should be the answer. King d2 is important over here, after which a knight c3 is important, and then we use our pawn to capture, or yeah, I think even a knight is fine, and we win the game. Going to the next. So knight d4 has been played. Again, we are a rook and bishop down in this position, but no need to worry because our rook is well placed. A knight is also in the center. The king is very weakly placed of black. So in this kind of position, you have the basic mating idea. You have knight f6 over here, having a direct threat of rook g8 mate wherever he moves the rook. So after knight f6, he is forced to play the move rook g7. And for rook g7, we have rook h5. The king has nowhere to go, so rook h7 back, and rook into h7 is a checkmate. So it's a basic mating theme of rook and knight. This is how you checkmate, the usual mating pattern. It may be the end game or the middle game. When you have a rook and knight, you use the knight on the f6 square if the king's on h8, and you have a checkmate there. So it should be knight f6, rook h5, and rook into h7. Now rook d1 has been played, so what do we do here? First of all, this rook is unprotected on the d1 square. Can we give some kind of discovered attack on the rook? Yes, we can. We have two options. One is knight c4 check and one is knight f3 check. The question is, what do we choose? Knight c4 or knight f3? So knight c4, let's just consider first. If we do play knight c4, he has, let's say, king d5. We can capture his rook, and this is winning for us. If we do go knight f3 though, he does have knight into f3, and after we capture, he can make at the g5 pawn, and that is not something that we want. Maybe we do not want to give up material that way, so it's always, I think, better to go for it's definitely better to go for knight c4 and take the king away. So that is definitely better in this kind of position. So we will go with knight c4 and the free rook, of course. Going to the next. Now this is a simple back rank checkmate because the pawns on f2, g2 and h2. So what do we do in these positions? He has a back rank weakness, and he has played the move rook e1, which is a blunder because we have two pieces attacking, the rook and the queen, while he has just one defender to the e1 rook. So we can play queen into e1 and rook into e1. That is a checkmate. Let's go to the next. Rook into c3 has been played. We are a piece down in this position. We got to keep that in mind. But we have a beautiful pass pawn on the c6 square, which we will eventually probably try to queen. So in this position, what can we do? We can probably play the move. We cannot directly push the pawn to c7 because there's rook into c4, and we can't really queen a pawn after that. And c7, rook into c4, yeah, of course, can't. So here first you play rook into c3, and after bishop into c3, you can play c7 and queen your pawn. That definitely should be the answer. And queen. Next. So now in this position, knight f3 has been played. We are black. We are material down in this position, but we have 3 pawns for the knight, and our pawns are well advanced in this position. Our king is also kind of, well, can kind of say it's actually helping our pawn's queen, so it's kind of good. How about just playing g2 first? What's going to happen? For knight g1, we always have king h2, and for knight f3 back, we have rook into f3. That's also a possibility. I think it should be g2 first, and then you can capture the knight. King h2, and okay, he's given it for free, so yes. So knight f3 has been played on the board. So what do we do over here? Knight f3, I think we can just play rook f6 and rook f3 and capture the knight and we will be having an extra piece on the board. But we'll have to we are having an extra piece because rook c2 we have king e3, and there is no rook c3 check because, sorry, not there. Our pawn is controlling the c3 square, so we don't need to worry about it. So we have and capture rook c2. Okay, I only considered king g4. I did not really consider king e4, but yes, this is also not an issue because we do have king d1, a counter attack. You capture my rook, I capture your rook. Let's go to the next. Bishop d7 has been played. Now what do we do in this position? Well, this is a one move checkmate. The e7 pawn is pinned, so we directly have knight into d6, and this is a one move checkmate. Next, bishop e5 has been played. First of all, g7 is a weakness. We want to play queen at 6, but he has bishop into f6 coming for that. So what we can do is sacrifice our rook for the moment. So we have rook into e5, and after he plays knight into e5, we can go queen at 6 and have a checkmate on the g7 square. Right, Super Mario 20, it should be rook into e5 in this position, but he has not played the whole continuation. So yes, queen f7 has been played. We just have two options basically here. We have king h8 and king h6, and king h8 is actually impossible because if we do play king h8, we get checkmated with queen g8, and that's a terrible way to get checkmated. So we have to play king h6 in this position, and if he does capture queen into f6, we have queen g1, and we are checkmating the white king. So after king h6, if he does play queen f8 check, we play bishop g7, and there are no more checks on the board, and we are going to checkmate white after that. So king h6, bishop g7. Yeah, now this is a free queen, so we're going to capture it and we win the game. Rook into d5 has been played, which proves that now this king is weak because this file is left open. Sorry, this rank is left open, not file, while this file is also left open. So a file and rank just at black's king is open, so we got to take advantage of it. So queen e8 check, king h7, queen h5 check. Now we control the h file, and after king g8 we play rook e8, and we control the 8th rank too, and that is a checkmate because the black king cannot move after that. So queen e8, queen h5, and rook e8 checkmate. Let's go to the next. Bishop b4 has been played. The bishop is actually hanging on the b4 square. So what do we do in this position? We can play queen a4 check, and it's a double attack on the bishop and the king, and we just pick up the bishop and we are having an extra piece on the board. And yes, if he's going to try to trade queens, we are happily going to trade queens in this position because we are material up, and when we are material up, we want to trade pieces because that makes it easier for us to win the game. So knight e6 has been played. Now what can we do? We got queen into f8, it would have been great, but we do not have queen into f8 because the knight is defending the rook. So what can we do? Get rid of this knight first. How do we do it? We can play bishop into e6, get rid of the knight, and after queen into e6 we have queen f8, and after queen g8 we can just trade queens too, and queen into king into, and we have knight d6, and that is winning for us because then we have a threat of rook e8 as well as knight into c8, and he cannot defend himself from both the threats, and we're winning another piece. Then we'll be a rook up after that. So yes, bishop into e6 first. Yes, stall leg 4-2, 4-2. It is bishop into e6 and queen into f8, but they have not really asked us for a continuation after this. Okay, so knight g4 has been played. He's just attacking. I mean, it's a free knight. Why shouldn't we capture a free knight? It is a free knight. You push a pawn, I get my king back. So free knight is a free knight. You're going to capture it. Piece up, won the game. Knight c6 has been played. This knight is on the diagonal of our g2 bishop. So what can we do about this? Can we play knight into f6 first? That's the question. What happens if we do play knight into f6 first? He has g into f6. Then we have bishop into c6. But for the bishop into c6 move, he does have rook c8. Now that does look scary, but that is nothing to worry about because we have knight d4, rook c1, and we can defend our c6 bishop and then move our queen away because he does not have the e5 push because his pawn is going to be on the f6 square after that. So yeah, so knight into f6 it should be, and then you pick up the c6 knight. But okay, they are not really asking for a continuation, but it's important to know that for rook c8 you can play the move knight d4, rook c1, and then move away your queen. and you're doing great. Yeah, so the king is on b8. It is having the b6 pawn right in front of him. So what can we do about this? If we we see that the back rank is actually pretty much weak. If we could get our piece on the back rank and give a check, we could get a checkmate. So this rook is actually pinned. If this f6 pawn was not there, we could have got rook f8 check, queen here, and rook into. But that is not possible right now. The f6 pawn is not there. We would also have queen into e5, of course. But yes, we do have queen into e5 even in this position, because queen into e5, f into e5, rook f8 check, and queen e8, rook into e8, rook d8, rook into d8, and the black king is checkmated. So queen into e5, it's important. Queen into e5 is a check though, because if this king was on a8 and we played queen into e5, then there would be queen into g2, that's a checkmate. So it's important that queen into e5 is a check in this position, and we have a checkmate. Maybe we can go to 50. Maybe we can try to solve a 50 maybe. Yeah, we can go for a 50. I said 30 at the beginning, but we can go for a 50. Yeah. Now this position, it definitely does not look like we have a win. We have to go for a draw. We are a rook down and we have no counterplay whatsoever. So this is just knight a2 check, king d1, knight check, king e1, knight check. Now king cannot really go to a1 because his rook a2 checkmate. So he will have to keep shifting between the d1 and b1 squares, and the knight just goes from a2 to c3, and we have a perpetual check on the board. And yeah, knight into a2, knight c3, knight a2. Going to the next. Bishop into d4 is played. Now bishop into d4 is hanging because we have two attackers. We have our queen and bishop on the same line, while he has just his queen defending his bishop. So if you look at the position, we can directly win a piece with queen into d4, bishop into queen into d4, queen into d4, and then bishop into d4. Yeah, that should be the answer, simply winning the piece. Going to the next. Now bishop d6 has been played. Black's simple threat is queen into h2 checkmate, but we will be checkmating black just before he checkmates us, so we can play the move knight into f6 here. The reason is this knight is already attacking the h7 square, the h7 pawn, so we have knight into f6, getting rid of the defender once again. And however he captures g into or queen into, we have our queen sliding through, going to the h7 square, and that is a checkmate. So knight into f6 check and queen into h7. Let's go forward. So bishop into b4 has been played. We are black in this position. Now the first move is king into b4, but we have to see the continuation after that, because he has a pass pawn while we also have a pass pawn. So king into b4, d5, a3, d6, a2, d7, and the queen with a check. That is very, very important, because the check wins us the game. So yes, king into, and we can just push the pawn and we win the pawn, because the pawn queens with a check. Super Mario 20, yes, I do coach. I'm a chess trainer. Yes, Super Mario. The point is, if I'm too busy, then I do not come online. But yes, from today I will be trying to come online as much as possible. I'll try to come online every day. At least I'll try to come online every day. So yeah. So let's go to the next puzzle now. Black to move here. Now queen into b5 has been played. And what do? The white king is poorly placed, because we have three beautiful pieces, a queen, bishop, and rook, that is just right next to white's king. Now if this knight was not on the board, we would have rook e1 checkmate, or even queen h1. But now in this position, we can try to get rid of the knight on f2, so we can play the move queen h1 check, knight into h1, and we have rook e1, that is a checkmate, because then the white king does not have any squares, so that is a checkmate. So queen h1 check and rook e1. Let's go to the next. Bishop d3 has been played, and if you see the material, white is a rook up actually in this position. Though in the future, if you just see this as a normal game, this knight is going to fall, so he would be just an exchanger, but right now he is a rook up. So how do we continue this? First of all, we have our bishop looking at the f2 square, and our queen also looking at the f2 square. So there's a simple one move checkmate with queen into f2, and the white king has nowhere to go. Let's go to the next. Rook d5 has been played. Now how do we continue this one? Seems like we have a nice battery on the h file. Usually when we have a rook and queen or our pieces on the same diagonals or the same files, you call it a battery. So this is a battery. So Rahul Krishna, queen e5. Okay, I think you're talking the previous one. Okay, so over here, what do we do? How do we actually win this? You do not want to play rook into rook and trade rooks over here. Your rook has worked hard to reach the h5 square. So this should be rook into h6, g into h6, queen into h6, and after king g8, the king on g8 is actually stuck. So you could go for rook e3 and rook g3, according to me, and that should be winning for you. Yes, Rahul Krishna, I do think it is rook into h6, and it should be a rook sacrifice and a checkmate, as you say. So it should be rook into h6, and here it should be rook e3 and rook g3, because there's no other way our rook could get into the game. So yes, that is the answer. Yeah, if f6 is played, though, we have rook g3, we have rook g7, and I think we have a checkmate. Rather than picking up the queen, we can just checkmate with queen h8 there. So yeah, knight g5 has been played, and this is the diagonal we are going to look at. We have a light square bishop while our opponent does not. So here, this is a simple one move checkmate with queen g2. He was not supposed to move the knight from this diagonal, but he did. So we have queen g2, checkmate. Let's go to the next. Now g into h5 has been played. Could we just push it, and could we just advance it and win the game? That's a question. Or do we have to go for something else? The bishop is pinned, so we can't really move the bishop. So it does look like we can just try to push the pawn and get an advantage there. Or, yeah, I think we have to just push d7 and we can directly win the game after this. It should be fine for us after d7, and yep. Yeah, I don't find anything else, so just go d7. Yeah, that is the answer. Let's go to the next. Okay, this is again a two-move checkmate. So this is a simple two-move checkmate. The rook is controlling the second rank, so what can we do? We have knight into f3, king h1, and rook into h2. That is a checkmate. So knight into f3 and rook into h2. Let's go to the next. Rook c2 has been played. This back rank is actually a weakness over here. Now, if we do try to play queen b1 check first, then there is rook c1, and there's no checkmate on the board. So what do we do over here? This queen is supporting, or let's say, protecting the e1 square. So we can get rid of this queen from this square, then we could get rook e1 as a checkmate. So we have Tolek, knight f3 was the answer in the previous puzzle, and yes, Super Mario, queen c2 is the answer over here. The queen is overloaded, that's right. So we have to try to get the queen out of this diagonal, so because it is controlling the e1 square. So we play queen c2, and we have rook e1, and if he does not capture back, then we are having an extra rook on the board. So rook e1 is a checkmate. Going to the next, king e3 has been played. Now what do we do in this position? It is on the same diagonal as a bishop, so we can have bishop 7 check, and when the king moves, it's important to capture with the king here. We should not be capturing with the bishop, because if we do, then he just queens his pawn. So it is bishop a7 check, the king moves, and our king captures the f2 knight. And yes, capture back, and we are winning this. Going to the next now. This is again a back rank checkmate. We have a beautiful bishop on the h3 square controlling the h3 f1 diagonal. So what do we do over here? We just take our rook to the last rank, and it is a checkmate. Going to the next, h6 has been played. The minute f6 and h6 have been played, you know that these light squares are completely weak. If we could get a queen or bishop on that diagonal, we can definitely take advantage of it. So here is queen h5, g6, and queen into g6. That is checkmate. So queen h5, queen into g6, checkmate. Going to the next, c2 has been played. Now again, there is a back rank weakness because there is no flight square. When the pawns are on f7, g7, h7, when they're in one line, there's no flight square. So usually you do have a back rank weakness. Now if you look at white's position, white has pushed the pawn to h3, so he's having no back rank weakness because his king can always hide on the h2 square, but that's not the case for black. So here, queen d8 check, queen in e8, queen into e8. That's why it's very important to make a flight square during your game. So yes, queen d8 and queen into. Yes, stall leg 4-2, 4-2. Now going to the next, king c3 has been played. So what do we do over here? Now, first of all, we have a pawn that is beautifully placed, which could queen. But if white is going to have his queen on the board along with the bishop, it's not really possible. The king is outside the square. That is important to note down. First of all, the queen is for exchange. So we can directly trade queen into queen. For bishop into queen, we have f2, and you can't really stop the pawn from queening. The king cannot get into the square, and the bishop cannot stop the pawn from queening. So that is the answer. You first trade queens, and then simply queen your pawn. Going to the next, e4 has been played. Now e4, now this is a weakness already. Now this is why you should not be making too many pawn moves in the opening. If you do that and the opponent has developed his pieces, this is what can happen. Queen f2 leads to a checkmate. You should be developing your pieces more than moving pawns unnecessarily in the opening. So yes, queen f2, checkmate. Going to the next, king c5. And yes, this is something I would like. This is a pawn endgame. Finally, I do love endgames. So yes, a 50th problem, and it is a pawn endgame. That's nice. Yes. Okay. Bye-bye, Super Mario. See you tomorrow. So yeah, king c5 has been played. So what can we do over here? Now if it is black to play this, then it would be winning for black, because he'll have king b4 and he's going to push our king in. So after king e3, king c3, king f3, king d3, he wins our pawns and he wins the game. So we should not be allowing king b4, since that is his threat. So we just give an opposition, not allowing the king entry. So that's actually the main motive of an opposition. You play king c3 and you take control of the important 3 squares so that the opponent's king cannot enter. And now you definitely cannot play king e5 because the pawn is controlling. So all you have to do is now, again, if you go king d3, he has king b4 and he keeps pushing your king, and it's outflanking the king basically. Keeps pushing the king, outflanks your king and captures your pawns. So here again, king b4 you want to stop if you do play king d3. So king b3, give an opposition, and here you should settle for a draw, because if you try to outflank his king, he's just going to capture your pawn. So you settle for a draw in this position. You have nothing more than a draw. And yes, 50 have been solved. Hi Lumjaka, welcome back after so long. Yeah, we can try for 100, and then we can try to increase the difficulty level. 100 is going to be good over here. So let us go to the next. Sorry, what am I doing? Okay, yeah. So let's try to go for 100, and let's see if we could get all 100 right. So rook g5 has been played here. Now material wise, we are completely equal. Now this rook is protected by just one piece, and that is the knight. So what can we do about it over here? We can definitely get rid of the knight, and if we do get rid of the knight, then we can capture the rook next. So we can play bishop into e4, and after we can play rook into g5, and we are having an extra rook on the board. Okay, so queen into c3, and again this is a one move checkmate, because we have a queen that's attacking the h7 square, a knight attacking the h7 square, so the pawn on h7. So we just have queen into h7, and that is a one move checkmate. So queen into h7. Let's go to the next. Let's see how fast we can reach there. Now again, the king on a2. Okay, we have to try to open it. We have the pawn on c3 that's controlling the b2 square. We have the rook controlling the b file, the b4 square. So important thing to do is here we have queen into a3, a beautiful queen sacrifice, after which he has king into a3, and then we have rook a5, and that is a beautiful checkmate on the board after a queen sacrifice. Yep, let's go to the next. King h8 has been played. So what do we do over here? Again, it's a one move checkmate. We have a battery, a queen and bishop on this diagonal. So we can play queen into g7, and that's a one move checkmate. So queen into g7. Let's go to the next. Knight f1 has been played. Again, there is no flight square on the board, as I mentioned earlier. This is now a weakness for white. So what can we do? This cannot be captured with the rook, but it definitely can be captured with the queen. So queen into f1. Rook into f1 and rook into f1, and the white king is checkmated. He has nowhere to go. So queen f1, rook into f1, checkmate. Go to the next. Queen e5 has been played. The rook is the only piece that is defending the queen on e5. So what can we do? We can play the move rook f1 check, and if rook into f1 we get the queen, and for rook f1 check, if king h2 is played, now the g1 squares are blocked by we could get our queen there, and the rook on f1 is blocking the white rook from controlling that square. So rook f1 king h2 we have queen g1, that will be a checkmate because we have a beautiful pawn on h4 that is controlling the g3 square. So it is rook f1. He's just giving the queen because he doesn't want to get checkmated. Let's go to the next. b5 has been played. Now what do we do in this position? The queen is attacked. The material is equal. Let's just not consider the pawns. Black does have some pawns, but the point is we are also attacking his rook while he's attacking our queen. Now the important thing is we move our queen and try to gain a tempo, and on the next move we can try to capture bishop into a3. So queen c6 check it is, and here we can just trade the queens and capture the rook next. So yes, we are a rook up here. Let's go to the next. Rook here has been played. Now this is again a checkmate on the board. Now the important question is, how do we capture? Rook f into f2, or do we capture rook d into f2? If we do capture rook f into f2, then he goes king g1, and we have perpetual checks, but we don't really have a direct checkmate on the board. But if we do capture rook d into f2, what happens is he cannot come to the third file, so that is taken away. He goes back to g1, we have rook f1, king g2, and we have this rook on f6 coming to the f2 square, and that is a checkmate. So rook into f2 and rook 6 f2, checkmate. Going to the next. Again, I think this problem we did solve some time back, though maybe there's just one move that has changed. Again, h6 and f6 have been played, so the h5, this diagonal is very, very weak. We take advantage of it by playing the move queen h5 and queen into g6. Going to the next again, rook g8 has been played. What do we do here? Rook into h6 is a simple one move checkmate because we have a beautiful knight, a knight on e6 that is a beautiful outpost controlling the g7 square. So rook into h6 is a one move checkmate. f6 has been played. Now again, this is a one move checkmate. We're getting kind of easy problems right now because I think these tough ones are kind of over. Have we solved all of them? Okay, this is again a pawn endgame, something I would like. So we have king g6 over here. We actually block it. Now this is not a stalemate because he has his pawns that can move. So you just play the move king g6. Whichever pawn he moves, you capture. Let him push his pawns and you can just queen and you end up checkmating. He has Super Mario 20. I am at 60. But I thought we can try to go for 100 today. So I was like, okay, let's go for 100. Let's go for a century. Let's hit a century today. So yeah, then we could go for tougher problems. These are the basic level problems, and after that we can go for the tougher problems is what I thought. So yeah, so king g6, and yeah, for b5 we have pawn in 2 and just keep queening. Next, rook into d5 has been played. Now what do we do in this position? Again, this is a two move checkmate. A knight can't really move. That's important to note down because it is pinned. So what do? We have rook into f1, sacrifice, and after king into f1 we have queen h1, and the king on f1 is checkmated because the knight on d4 does control the e2 square. So the king on f1 is nicely checkmated, and for rook into f1 king h2 we have rook h1, that is again a checkmate. So rook into f1, queen h1, checkmate. Let's go to the next. Rook g1 has been played. Again, this is a one move checkmate. This is usually a smothered mate. Black may have sacrificed his queen if I'm not wrong. Yeah, he did sacrifice his queen with queen g1, but again in this position white's correct move was king into g1 to capture it with the king so that his king has let's say air to breathe. Now because he has played rook into g1, we have knight f2, and this is a smothered mate after knight f2. You call it a smothered mate because whenever the king has let's say he's blocked by his own pieces all around, now the rook and all of them are his own pieces, so that's when it's called a smothered mate. So this is a smothered mate, the concept of it. So let's go to the next. Knight d4 has been played. Now what do? He has played knight d4 because he may have thought that bishop d4 is not possible because I am losing my queen after that. But why do I have to capture with the bishop? The king is on g8, the knight is on d4. I have queen c4 check first, and I don't even need to capture queen into d4 after that. I have a smothered mate, in fact, after that. If he goes king h8, of course. I have knight f7, knight f7, king g8, knight h6, king h8, queen g8, rook g8 or knight g8, and knight f7, that's a checkmate. So for queen c4, he's definitely going to play d5, after which I can capture queen into d4, and yep. No, smothered mate, actually, usually it is by mating with a knight, but the actual meaning of smothered mate is when, at least this is what I have read, that the actual meaning of smothered mate is when your king is blocked by your own pieces, basically. So your pieces are responsible for your checkmate, because if your pieces were not blocking, it's not that your opponent's pieces are very well placed and are actually controlling squares around your king. So yeah. Smothered mate could be with any piece, but usually it is with the knight, because the knight is a piece that can actually jump and checkmate in such a situation where the opponent's pieces are. So it's usually, I think it is done with knight. So here queen c4 it is, and queen into d4, we are a piece up. Let's go to the next. We're going to hit 100 today. So here now what do we do? First of all, the first check we see on the board is knight g6. That is king into h7. Then we have knight f8, discovered check. And what is he going to do? Wherever he goes, we have queen h7. That's a checkmate. So that should be the answer over here. We give away, we sacrifice the bishop, we give it away, and we have a checkmate coming on the board after that. So yeah, knight g6, knight f8. And yes, important thing to note down is this rook is actually supporting the knight. So queen h7 is a checkmate no matter where he moved his king. Again, rook g8 has been played. What can we do over here? Again, this is like a back rank checkmate kind of thing, because we have a rook already controlling the important f7 square. So we have queen into g8, king into g8, and rook b8. That is a checkmate. So queen into g8 and rook b8. Next, d3 has been played. Again, we're kind of getting the easier problems. I think the tougher ones in this batch have actually gone, or they're over. I don't really know, maybe 100 is too much. Okay, anyway, queen into f2 is a simple one move checkmate again. So queen into f2, rook d7 has been played. Now, is this a free piece? That is a question. If we do capture rook into d7, he has queen e8, and once you move your king, he will go for queen into d7. Right, he has queen into d7, or he could also play yeah, queen into d7. Let's just take it simple. So rook d7, there is queen e8 check. So what do we do in this position? We do capture with, we need our rook to actually control the 8th rank. That is very, very important. So we can't capture with the rook. So we have to try to capture maybe with the queen. This king is over here. So we have a double attack with queen b5. We have a double attack, a check, as well as capturing. And then we use our queen on the next move and we capture the rook. So yeah, queen b5, queen into, which is next. Okay, so now white's threat, I mean, this is like a position you'd never expect. White's threat is basically king e6, d7, and after king c7 he wants to queen, but we can try to push up on. That's the only option we have anyway. So after e3 he has king e6, we have e2, he has d7, king into c7, king e7. But the problem is we have e1 and we queen the pawn with a check, and we are winning this. Okay, next, rook g2 has been played. Now what do we do? What can we do in this position? The queen is attacked. Okay, I'm kind of tired solving these problems. Yes, Mantrala, but this is not what do you say? What do you call that? I'm very tired. The survival mode. This is not survival actually. These are just normal puzzle solving. So I'll have to go for the tougher problems after this. I thought we'll hit 100, but I'm very tired solving these right now itself. Anyway, so what do we do in this position? What can we do? Okay, the queen is attack, but we have a beautiful pawn on f7. So can we make use of it? I think we can. We can play the move queen into g2, sacrificing our queen, and after bishop into, we have rook g3 with a double attack. I mean, we don't really care about the bishop actually, but we have a double attack. Mainly our threat is rook g8, and can black stop it? That is the question. Can black stop it? No, should we directly go rook g3? Now rook g3, there is queen g3 and bishop g7 there, so that should not be working. So it should be obviously rook g3 directly. Of course, rook g3 directly. Of course. Yeah, kind of tired, but yeah. For bishop g7, we have knight g6 check. That is important because at g6 then we have queen h4, bishop h6, queen h6, and that is a checkmate. For bishop g7, knight g6, if you do play a queen into g6, then we do have queen b8 check, bishop c8, queen into, and bishop f8, queen into f8, and that is a checkmate. So again a one move checkmate, queen f7. The black king is he's actually checkmated. Yes, that was wrong, Super Mario. Oh, who said rook g3? Oh, it was Kimappa actually, sorry. I'm just tired. Okay, so c5 has been played. Now again, this diagonal does seem weak, so I can play queen h4 check, give a check. For g3, I have knight g3 at g3 and queen into h1, and I win an exchange. So queen h4, queen into h1. Next, queen h2 has been played. So what do I have? I have a two move checkmate in this position. The queen is already controlling the first rank. So now if he moves the bishop, we could not queen in that position Tolek. I just mentioned the line, so that was the correct answer. I think what I mentioned, queening was not going to help us in any way. So yes, here the queen is already controlling the first rank. The king is on h2. We have rook h4 check, king g3, and we have queen f4, and that is a beautiful checkmate because the king on g3 has nowhere to go. So rook h4, queen f4, and that is a checkmate. Let's go. We have 26 more to solve. Let's see. Okay, this is again a back rank checkmate. As I've mentioned earlier, it's important to make a flight square in a game. If you do not, this is what could happen in your game. Rook e8, rook into e8, and a back rank checkmate. Going to the next. King into g5 has been played. Now what do we do in this position? This is again a checkmate in 3 because this square is taken by the queen. So we have h4, you force king e3, then you have queen h6, you force g5 and queen into g5, and that is a checkmate because this king pawn is controlling those important squares. The queen is controlling the e3 square, so that is a checkmate. Okay, let's go to the next. G into f6 has been played. Now this is a nice checkmate. We have rook into c3 because we make use of this beautiful bishop, light square bishop, that's really strong in this position. So rook into c3, b into c3, sorry, let me just mark it again. Rook c3, b c3, queen a3 check, and we checkmate the white king because these important squares are controlled by the bishop, while the b2 square is controlled by the queen. So rook c3 and queen a3, that is a checkmate. When the next bishop into g4 has been played. Now bishop into g4 has been played for what reason? I don't know. I think he was thinking h into knight into, and he's having a checkmate somewhere here, but that is not really happening because you have f4 pawn push and there's no checkmate on the board, and we're simply one rook up. So we're going to pick up the free bishop we're getting and play f4, and we are winning this. Let's go to the next. G5 has been played. Now whenever f5 and g5 is being played here, these squares are really weak, and this is kind of the two move checkmate that is possible from black's point of sight, from black's side. So here we have queen h5, and that's a one move checkmate. And f3 has been played again. This pawn is hanging. Sorry, how do we capture with the queen or the knight is the question. Definitely with the queen because we give a check, and wherever the king moves you have queen f2, that is a checkmate after that. So queen g3, queen f2, that's a checkmate, and we win it. Going to the next, we need 20 more to hit the 100 mark. A rook into h2, rook into h2, and rook into h2 should be the answer, but you capture b2. I think that should be the answer. You are having an extra piece, and yeah, that should be the answer actually, unless there is a checkmate. No, there is no checkmate, so yeah, rook h2, and rook into b2. Going to the next. h6 has been played. we already have a pawn that is very close to queening, so we can have knight c3 check to block the file so that we can actually queen the pawn on the next move. So knight c3, and wherever he moves the king, you can move, queen the pawn, while after knight c3, if he does capture, you have king into c3, h7, and we queen, right? Yeah, that should be the answer. We queen and we have a pawn on e3, so that should be winning for us, hopefully. Going to the next, queen check has been played. Now the beautiful thing over here is we don't need to move our king or play bishop d7 to block the check. What can we do over here? What we can do is, this king on h1 is very vulnerable right now, so what we can do is, we have our beautiful queen on h4. What can we do? We can try to get rid of this bishop. If we could play the bishop somewhere, then we're getting a checkmate in 2, right? Bishop g3, king g1 and queen h2, but that's not possible because we are under a check. So if we are under a check in this position, what can we do? We can get the bishop all the way to d6, and after bishop d6 is played, now this is a check and we are blocking the check. So after king g1, we have queen h2 and we have the same checkmate on the board. So bishop d6 and queen h2, that is a checkmate. Going to the next position, rook f7 has been played. Now this rook on c8 is definitely hanging. Can we capture it? Well, it does look like it is a free rook, so why not capture the free rook unless we do have something better? But no, we do not have something better, so we will capture the free rook with queen into c8, and we have an extra rook on the board. Actually, I think we already have an extra piece on the board right now. Yeah, so queen into c8, it should be in this position. It's a free rook, why not? Why not? A rook is a rook, right? So yeah, a3 has been played again. These squares are weak, so immediately it should come to our mind that we can take our queen to that diagonal, and we have a checkmate on the board with queen h4, queen into g3. Next, we have 15 more to go to complete the century. So a bishop into e1 has been played. We have a bishop over here. It should be something related to a discovered check, right? So yes, it is knight g5. You have a discovered check on the board, and whatever he does, let's say king h8, you have queen h7, that's a checkmate because this knight is attacking the h7 square. And if he does play rook f7, we have queen h7, king f8 and queen h8, that is again a checkmate. So yeah, so knight g5 it is, and a mate. Next, again a very nice pawn endgame. Now we don't really have an entry via these squares into his camp, so what do we do? Can we go from the other side? That is a question. So yes, we do have an entry from this side, so that is what we're supposed to do. King b4, king d7, king a5, king c7 and king a6, and we start outflanking the king. So king d7, king b6, and we do capture his c6 pawn, and we eventually win the game after that. So king b4, king a5, king a6, and we win the game. Now bishop b4 has been played. What do we do in this position? Okay, I will complete the extra. I have another 13 to go. Yeah, I have another 13 to go, and then yeah, I mean, it's not probably, I'm just feeling exhausted because I've been solving problems and explaining each and every problem, but yeah, playing probably is not this tiring, but I don't know, I'm kind of feeling tired today. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to complete 100 and then I'm going to go and take a break. These are anyway easier problems, so it's no big deal. Yeah, so anyway, bishop a5, bishop a5, I have rook into c2 definitely. So bishop a5, rook c4, rook c4, rook c4, queen c4, right? I do win the bishop. So yes, it is a check. I really didn't realize it. So yes, that is right. It should be bishop into a5 and rook into c2, and we do win. Okay, he's giving the queen, so we're going to take the queen. Okay, again, this is a smothered mate. So we have knight h6, king h8, and queen g8, rook into, and knight f7. That is checkmate. So knight h6, queen g8, and knight f7. So let's go to the next. Okay. Okay, this should be a checkmate on this side. It seems like I could just go knight g4 and queen into h2, checkmate actually, this position. because knight g4, if you do capture e into f8 with a check, I have bishop into, and I have queen into h2 after that, and it's unstoppable. You can't really. And if you do even move your rook, I have queen h2, king f1, and I have queen into f2. That is a checkmate. So the king on f1 would be anyway checkmated. So it should be knight g4 and bishop into, and yeah, just take the free queen that we are getting. So again, a pawn endgame. So what do we do over here? Probably we can first capture, because this pawn is actually very dangerous. It could queen first. So we will first capture king into, and for king c6 he will try to capture our pawns. Then we could go d4, e into d4, e3, d5, e2, d6, queen, and d7. And we all know that when we have a queen against a d pawn, let it be on any rank, even the 7th rank, it does not really matter. When it is a central pawn, it doesn't really matter. You are winning. So yeah, it is king into pawn first, and then we can push the pawn. And yeah, this is important though. If it was a bishop's pawn or the rook's pawn, then you have to see how close your king is and if it is winning. But it's a central pawn, so it does not really matter. Let's go to the next. h6 has been played. We can queen with a check. That is important to us. We have f2, h7, and we can queen with a check, and it's a mate in fact after that. So yeah, that should be the answer. But yeah, after f2 he will play c7 check, and we have to play king c8. And yeah, but he d7, we have the important king into c7 is important. King d7 would allow king b7 there. So yes, f2, c7, king c8, and here after d7 we have to capture king c7. That's a very important move, and then we can checkmate on the next move. So f2, king c8. Okay, he has not done that, so it's made it easy for us. And I think now we can do we have a checkmate on the board? Maybe not immediate. We can just play queen into h3 and win the game. Next, we have 8 more to go. Okay, so this is again a checkmate in 2 moves. The king on d1 is pretty much, let's say, very weak, because we have 2 beautiful pieces on the 7th rank, the queen and rook, and a beautiful bishop too. So we are attacking the d2 knight. Now if we do capture queen into bishop into d2, then we do give him some chances which we do not want to give him. So we can just make it have a forced mate on the board with rook into d2, and after bishop into d2, queen into d2, and the king on d1 is checkmated. So rook d2, queen d2, and yeah, let's go to the next. This is again a 1 move checkmate. We have a bishop attacking e2 and the queen also attacking e2. So we have queen into e2 and a 1 move checkmate. Let's go to the next. King f6 has been played. This is a nice pawn endgame once again. What do? We get a free pawn over here. We do capture. But how do we continue is important, because after d into e5, he'll play king e6. The pawns are blocked. He wants to go c5, c4. Now we should not be allowing that, because if we do allow that, then maybe it could be problematic for us. So d into e5, king e6, we have king d4, and after c5, which is kind of forced, then we have king into e5, king b5, and we queen our a pawn first. So yeah, that is the answer. King d4 is very important over here. And if he does not, then we anyway go king c5 and we capture. We really don't care. We have 5 more to go to hit a century. So again, a double check with the knight and the bishop after knight f3, and after king h1 we have queen into h2. That is a checkmate. So knight f3, queen into h2. Okay, this is another very nice checkmate. Now we have a beautiful bishop controlling the g8 square. So what can we do here? We have queen into h7. Oh yes, forgot to mention we have a beautiful pawn to controlling the g6 square. These are really good pieces of beautiful outpost on e6. So yes, queen into h7 first. And after king into h7, we have rook h3, and that is a checkmate, guys. So queen into and rook h3. We have 3 more to go to hit 100. It's really tiring, though they're easy puzzles, but yeah, it's really tiring. Okay, so here now the queen, the material wise, we are a queen down. So sorry if I'm too fast. Sorry, I'll have a glass of water, a sip of water. Okay, so okay, these are till 1500. So yeah, I took the easiest. I thought I'll do 0 to 1500 and then I'll do 1500 to 2000 the next part, and then another 2000 to 2500. But I kind of got really tired in these. I'll have to stop after 100 here. We are exactly a queen down here, and if we do capture the queen directly, we lose the bishop. So we do not want to give away our bishop. So the queen is not giving us a check or anything, so we can first exchange our bishop with bishop in 2. And actually we have a piece for a bishop. I did not realize we are not a queen down, we're not only a queen down, we're having a piece. So what we can do is play bishop into g2, king into g2, and then play g into f6, and we are a piece up after this. So we have bishop into and g into f6. Let's go to the next. There's queen f5 on the board. It's a check. Now we have just 2 options for our king. Those are the candidate moves of ours on the board. But what do we do over here? King g3 just looks bad because you're just inviting more checks, and that's not something we want. So I'll just say we have king h2. We have to try to take our king somewhere and hide, because we don't want any perpetual checks. So king h2, queen f4, and after queen f4, this g6 is no longer protected, so we are fine with it. And king h1, if you do capture rook d2, then we have queen g6, queen g7, checkmate. So for king h2, queen f4, we have king h1. For queen h4, we have simply queen h2, and if you do play queen e4, I can get this rook out here, and I am simply a rook up, and I am winning this. So yeah, that should be the answer. Simply queen h2 and trade the queens. If you do trade queens, I'm again a rook up. If you do not trade queens, if you play queen e4, then again this rook comes to g2 from d2, and again a rook up. Go to the next one problem, and I am stopping after this. I'm going to stop after this. Okay, so the point is, what do we do over here? The material wise, we are completely equal in this position. What we can do in this position is just pick up the knight and have a threat of capturing the d3 queen. So let's say he does capture our queen, because our queen is also attacked. We capture his queen, and he doesn't have any piece to capture for free. So we have captured a queen and a knight, while he has captured just a queen. So that should be winning for us, right? That is winning for us. So yeah, this is supposed to be the answer to this. Yeah, and if he does capture back, attack the knight and the queen, we can just play queen d7 and support the knight, and we are doing good. So he has captured a queen, we capture his queen, he has traded rooks, and we have completed 100 of the basic puzzles, that is from 0 to 1500. It's very tiring. I actually wanted to continue with 1500 to 2000 and keep increasing the level,